I guess I was born to it. My great-grandfather on my dad's side was a blacksmith. My grandfather was a blacksmith at a big Ford shop in Akron. This was all during World War II. And my dad was a journeyman sheet metal worker. When I got out of the Navy in 1970, opened up a small shop in Vermilion in the evenings. And then I worked that for a few years, then went on and got a job at Hale Farm and Village for 4 years, entertaining the masses. I started out doing kind of more of the traditional stuff, the smaller things, just railings, mailbox stands, plant stand hardware, and that kind of stuff. And it did okay, but I realized that a lot of people do that and do it a lot better than I can or want to do. So I kind of finally had an epiphany. About in 1976, two things really inspired me, and it was attention to detail raises the level of craftsmanship. And the second one was look and see differently. I like things that have a mechanism to it, moving parts, period.
I think he's raised the bar in that he makes people look at what they do in a different way. In other words, it's not just about how to make something, but why and what to make. I think he raises the bar in that he gets people, hopefully, to think about what they're going to make.
What I do is tabletop stuff. And I think the first animated piece was an animated squawking parrot. I had the idea, but I didn't know how to make the squawk. So I finally kind of looked around and I found an old oil can. It has a spout, and I don't know if you know what a klaxon horn is, but basically it's a metal diaphragm and there's a gear that hits a whisker on it that makes the noise on the old cars. It didn't take electricity. So that led to that. It all kind of just came together. Not everything is like that. And I will say that from some stuff I make, I classify it as a reproduction. That's not art, that's just a reproduction. For instance, the tank, it's not a dead nuts reproduction. It's got a little bit of me in it, period. And I made that for my own enjoyment.
To match the work that Barry's doing, you really need a dedication to detail and to excellence, and a kind of unbridled enthusiasm at achieving that. He will search out a quirky little thing or a whimsical little thing that he wants to do, and somehow how he wants to translate something into metal. The great thing about Barry is that he has learned all of those basic skills decades ago, and so he uses them to come up with different things.
Getting the idea for something is probably the hardest thing. But once the idea is there, I can kind of steamroll it. A lot of things come out on whatever kind of piece of paper I have laying around. It could be a candy wrapper or a notebook. I kind of save all that stuff. The current project I'm working on, the genesis of that was in late January. I could do that work on a dining room table because it gets pretty cold out here. And kept working on that, and it just kind of kept evolving in things. Sometimes you just kind of force things and you say, no, this is just not going to work, and not everything I do comes out exactly right. This car I'm working on, the front fenders were a nightmare. When you look at them, you say, gee, that's not rocket science. But it just gave me fits. And I finally got through it, it worked out. So I'm happy with it. I guess if it was a piece of cake, I would not have enjoyed it. It's complicated, but that's what makes the fun out of it. And people will ask me how long it takes you to make something. I don't know. Just long enough. Once you've got the idea, you need materials. I just kind of scrounge. When some people see something that's a bunch of junk, I see gold, so to speak. You never know with a piece of square tubing, a rod or something, that can be turned into just about anything. My goal is to make something somebody can walk up to it and say, I know who did that without looking at the label. So it's what I call a Wheeler. the strange and the bizarre and the peculiar. Maybe if somebody else did it, it would be kind of ordinary. So I take it a step further and tweak it and give it that little something. Gears, mechanisms, things that move, yeah, sure, that's the fun part. That's the fun part.
What is the Wheeler touch? Well, it'd be Barry's personality. Usually will have something to do with whimsy, something that will give you a chuckle, a laugh. His work has progressed from being, say, like a static object of interest that also portrayed interest to, in the last, decade or so, mechanically, lots of animated things that move and change. It's just, it continually evolves, really.
Let me entertain you, and that's it. I think that kind of says it all. I think my pieces are entertaining to people, even the ones that, as a friend of mine once said, it doesn't do anything. It's still entertaining and kind of unique. And you got to look close at my stuff. So you just can't glance at it.
The last 20% of the work makes about 80% of the difference.
That was easy.
And that's very evident in Barry's work. All of the detail, the detail that he puts into them is crazy, not to mention the thought behind it. It's important because he is contributing to a fresh look of blacksmithing. In other words, blacksmithing doesn't have to be XYZ. Blacksmithing can be anything. It's just a means to an end. It's an important means to an end because you can accomplish certain things using those techniques that you cannot any other way. But people like Barry, and Barry in particular, are showing that blacksmithing can do anything. Anything you can think of, it can do.
I just do what I do, and I hope people enjoy it. That's all there is to it.